There's Mark helping me get the screen bigger. Good. She's putting it on YouTube.
And we're live. Welcome to Love and Money Secrets TV. Hello, my friends and gems. I am so thrilled and excited to be able to share with you this beautiful friend and gem who, moving forward, you guys are going to get to know much, much better. She has an extraordinary journey over the past 7 years that will make your hair and toes curl when you hear what happened to her. But the good news is that she went from things getting infinitely worse, and thanks to an introduction, she was able to turn the other cheek, and now things have gotten infinitely better at biblical proportions. So with us, I want to welcome Sylvia Amaral, a beautiful soul sister. Cynthia, thank you for sharing time with us in this space right here, right now.
Oh, Lillian, I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. And I pray my testimony helps bless and inspire others and that they can find this light that I did too, kind of accidentally.
Yeah. 7 years ago, what were you doing? You went from being happy and healthy, and then all of a sudden there was a defining moment about 7 years ago, as I understand, where things took a radical change for the worse for you. What were you doing? Where were you working? What happened? Share with us this body and mind transformation that went from one direction and now the door has swung in the other direction.
So, like Lillian said, I was the picture of health 7 years ago. I was 50 years old. We had just got back from Hawaii. I was the picture of health. I would run 3 miles in 30 minutes. And up in the Sequoia National Forest on the kind of bicycle that Lance Armstrong rides. So we were going like 30 miles per hour downhill. It was exciting. And I had been a registered nurse since I was 21, just loving life, keeping up with my Weimaraners, riding my BMX bike, scuba diving. And I decided to just get a routine physical. And my doctor said the computer showed her I was due for the Tdap vaccine booster, which is the tetanus, diphtheria, and acellular pertussis. So I received it. Why wouldn't I? That's how I'm trained as a nurse. Vaccines are what you do. And a few days later, I had extreme weakness and exhaustion. I just couldn't get out of bed. My kidneys felt like a blowtorch was burning them up. I had a horrible cough that almost turned to pneumonia. I was given antibiotics. Then I got a urinary tract infection, more antibiotics. I couldn't even keep my eyes open due to weakness. I was on bed rest most of the day, going from completely healthy to this. It was so baffling because we just didn't connect the dots. I had a fever of 102. For a couple of days, I couldn't break it. And then finally, I had a neurological collapse. Mark found me outside on the ground. I thought I was having a stroke. So I couldn't feel my legs. I could not walk. So he basically carried me inside and sat me in the chair to take my blood pressure because I said, babe, I think I'm having a stroke. You need to call 911. And suddenly I just got flaccid. I slumped to the floor and I could barely breathe. It hurt so bad. I felt like somebody was ripping and shredding my diaphragm to pieces. And I felt so much pain at the back of my head, neck, and spine. I was trapped in my body. I could hear him on and off talking to the 911 operator. I couldn't move, couldn't open my eyes. It was just horrible and so scary. So the ambulance took me to the hospital. I was there 2 weeks and they did multiple tests, including a lumbar puncture, which showed infection. But remember, we didn't connect the dots because I really didn't know that's what was happening. It was, possibly due to a reaction to the Tdap vaccine. They tested me for so many things like Zika virus, West Nile virus, Lyme disease, stroke, possible Guillain-Barré. The neurologist came in and told me I might.
Sounds.
Oh,
You're presenting. There's like a whole myriad of different neurological conditions. Like,
yes.
It could have been MS, it could have been Guillain-Barré, it could have been myasthenia gravis. It could have been so many different things. And things like Guillain-Barré, there isn't a test, even if you have a lumbar puncture. there isn't a diagnostic test. It's one of those things where it's a process of elimination. But meanwhile, you can literally die from going into respiratory arrest from any one of these different conditions. So continue on. This is like so harrowing and unfortunate. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this really horrific and
Oh,
extremely terrifying experience, but I'm so glad that you're okay
yeah,
now.
because I'd never been sick before. I was always on this side of the healthcare spectrum. I've done multiple things in my career. I've been very blessed. But the neurologist came in and told me not to be afraid, that he might have to put me on the ventilator for 3 days, but that I would get stronger. So just to be prepared for that. Thank God I didn't have to be ventilated. But fast forward, I get discharged and I have multiple diagnoses. As of today is like 26 diagnoses. I won't even bore you with all of them, but the main ones were paralyzed vocal cord, chronic respiratory failure, shortness of breath on exertion, Addison's disease. Come 2020, I almost went into a coma because I went into hyperthyroid storm, Graves' disease, just multiple things. Myalgic encephalomyelitis was kind of the main one, which is kind of a demyelinating process that goes through basically your spinal cord is supposed to be encased, basically, if you think about wires, for electricity, you have that casing around it. Well, it was kind of framed like this. You can probably explain it much better with your neurological expertise, Lillian. But and periodic paralysis, those were the main things. I mean, I would just look to the left, touch my diaphragm on accident, try to talk, seeing, just even being up more than half an hour. It was ridiculous. I mean, I went from being extremely healthy to not being able to do just basic activities of daily living. I was in bed 85% of the day on oxygen. My poor husband had to do everything for me. And I just, oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe what was happening. But fast forward, if you want me to go into when I found the patch, actually the patch found me. My friend, I didn't even know her, honestly. We're best friends now, but Jan Angel Kennedy saw me struggling. I could hardly talk, so I hadn't really been on the phone with anybody other than texting for 7 years. It's just been crazy. My life has just been a catastrophic disaster since that happened. And she put the patch on the back of my neck, and it was an X39. And in 10 minutes, my voice came back and it's still here. I just can't even hardly believe it. My husband and I, he's getting his wife back, but he says pray for him because, our pillow talk is ours because I haven't been able to talk. I have to make up for 7 years of talking, 50,000 words a day. I think girls talk about 50,000 words a day, right? But with this patch, I've just been sharing it and sharing the light, because I'm so glad Jan wasn't afraid of not knowing me and trying to help me. She just walked up to me and now we're like best friends. She saved my life. And I'm just hoping, wow, that other people reach out to anybody that they see their loved ones or anybody that's struggling. This has helped so many people. And I've been a nurse for 36 years and I've never seen as many miracle after miracles as I've seen with this light technology. It's just been miraculous. I even drove for the first time after being on the patches about a month. My husband's training me. I drove for 5 minutes and I hadn't driven since March of 2017. It's been wild. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine not driving for 7 years just because I can't sit up? And the paralysis, it's just been constant. I've been in and out of the ERs multiple times, UCLA, Stanford. It just goes on and on. But fast forward is that now I'm just not living a life of survival anymore. I feel like I'm living a life of significance and I'm still going to get better. I finally got cleared to fly like 2 weeks ago. I haven't flown since March of 2017. So, I mean, it's coming. And it takes time, guys. Deep healing takes time. You got to stay the course, keep the faith, fight the good fight, be consistent, and of course, Lillian will tell you a couple more little tricks just to kind of help with your X39. And I wear pretty much all of the patches. By the way, my white blood cell count, which is the infection fighting cells, it was in the tank, like 3.2 for 7 years. I couldn't do anything to bring it up and I would get sick a lot. But after taking the patches, my second set of labs, because I get labs about every 2 months, every month, and I think about 2 months after the patches, it's now up to 7.4. What? And I haven't done anything different than patching. I am just so excited the possibilities.
That's an over 300% improvement. So how long have you actually been on the patches?
7 months now, and I still see God kisses every week, every day.
7 months Oh my gosh, God's favorite number is 7. And of
Yes.
course, we would do this in the 10th month of our calendar year because we're in October. We're on the heels of convention. And oh my gosh, so you've been on the patches for 7 months. And I got to tell you, because I've only known you for like 3 weeks. And
Yes.
just in the 3 weeks since I've known you, every time I see you, because I saw you 3 Saturdays ago, and then I saw you the following Sunday, like
Yes.
literally 8 days later. And then I'm seeing you today. And each time you're more and more like it's noticeable, the rejuvenation.
Yes. I feel it. It's like,
Energy
mhm,
is like through the roof, but like I can actually see, I mean, you looked phenomenal the first time I met you. You were sitting in the row behind me, and
mhm.
we were at a Mission Viejo event with Marcy Prebel, and you told your story, and I was riveted. I'm like, we need to connect. I need to
Um,
share you with my tribe.
yeah.
And we had the San Diego event that you hosted the
Mhm.
following Sunday. So I got the wonderful pleasure and honor to spend time with you and Mark.
It's been amazing. And thank God for Marcy and Jan Ran. They just drove on down and helped out. And you were Miss Vanna White helping out with everything on stage. You're beautiful. Thank you. It's my 7-year jubilee, definitely.
It really
Yeah.
is. So I'm so excited to share you with the world and let people know that, listen, I mean, because you had a firestorm of systems that most of them, if not all of them, had been compromised, had been damaged, had had some sort of negative adverse effect as a result of what happened to you.
Yes, it's basically autoimmune cascade, everything. I was attacking my brain, nerve, joint, fibula,
Everything.
synapse, and oh my goodness, thyroid. It's just been horrific,
And it
devastating.
caused an incredible amount of pain, and it also created a lot of you had different paralysis of not just your vocal cords but different parts of
Yes,
the body and so forth, so things were
whole
literally
body.
shutting down. And so that's a tremendous amount of pain, a tremendous amount of anguish. Just trying holding your breath for like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, and the feeling of not being able to breathe is a terrifying thing because we take it for granted on a day-to-day basis when you
We
don't have to
do.
think about it.
Right? It's automatic normally, but this wasn't.
But all of a sudden, when you have the onset where you're like having the realization, wait a minute, I'm trying to breathe, but I'm having to effort, and you're aware that something isn't right and you
Yeah.
can't seem to get the right oxygen. And then now, if you can't breathe, you can't speak. And so as you're losing your breath and losing oxygenation, you obviously, there's going to come a point where you're going to lose consciousness as there's less oxygen going to the brain. The lights will go out because your body goes up. Okay, let's pull energy from up here, and we need to keep the heart and the lungs. We need to preserve that. We need to shut this off and bring all the energy to the center part to keep you alive. And so that is very scary because you're like, you don't want the lights to turn out, but it's involuntary. It's like next
Yeah.
thing, you're unconscious in a coma. It could be that you may be in a coma. Doesn't matter. That is a terrifying place.
Yes, it
Doesn't
was.
matter, child, teenager, adult, elderly person. I can't imagine how horrific something like that would be. And then to come out of it, be conscious again. Make no mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, you have PTSD, you're going to have anxiety. That's a trauma that you've experienced. And now you have the pain of surviving with all these things that are not getting better. They're getting worse. They're staying the same, or they're getting worse when you expect things to get better. And it wasn't until I really believe that we are magnets and these patches are magnets, so that it's inevitable. People that are watching this video right now, whether they're watching it live or they're going to watch the replay or they're going to catch it on one of the social media platforms, make no mistakes. There's no such thing as a coincidence. You've been praying, you've been asking, you've been knocking on doors. And guess what? If you ask, you shall receive. The question is, are you going to take inspired action or not? Because the divine, our almighty creator, does answer prayers. And you're finding this at the right place, at the right time, with the right people. You can get in contact with Sylvia. You can get in contact with me. You can get in contact with whoever it is that's sharing this video with you. They will answer any and all of your questions. And make no mistakes, if they don't have answers to all the questions, our team is highly equipped. Sylvia, would you not say that our entire team of, I think Marcy, well, Dr. Stacy and we have about 50,000 plus people that are on the patches. Marcy, I think, is over like 150,000, I think, at this point. It's kind of
Yes, it keeps growing. Thousands per
growing.
week are coming
So
because you're sharing the light. And I don't believe in coincidence either. I think it's God incidence, Lillian.
God
That's what
incidence,
I
yes.
call it.
That's what
And
I call it too.
like you said, it's interesting that Marcy and I have both seen, if you will, Faces of Death. I've seen Heaven's Gates 3 times, and here I am. So I feel like I want to, you just get an extra fervor and zest for life to help other people because life is so short. Once you've almost lost it, and Marcy the same with her fast growing cells twice. And you just, instead of living a life of survival, you want to live a life of significance because what can you take to heaven with you? Nothing. You can't take any of this with you. It's just other souls. So be the light, be that magnet, help others, share the
Yeah.
light.
And you know what? I love the fact that you're saying be the light because this is a light activation technology.
Oh, yeah.
As we apply these patches are not fixing you. They're not. They're not medicine.
Right.
It's not like a pill that you take that you ingest in your body and there's a chemical reaction. No, the power that makes the body, that divine energy that created the body that was responsible for that ovum and that sperm uniting, that at conception, we then finally had complete information to the tune of 23,688 genes. That's what science tells us. And now we have complete information, and you have your general contractor, which is the divine, right, that made this possible. And now you have all these construction workers. That's the crew that's going to build your house, which is our body, our temporary housing unit. We have 100% of those at conception until we're 30 years of age. And then 50% of them, they turn off, not because they're damaged, destroyed, or they've disappeared. It's part of the divine design as we age. 50% of them just they go to sleep. They just go dormant until you apply one of these. This is a device, a mechanical device to activate your own master blueprint. We're using your own infrared light. This is a light activation device. It's an FDA compliant medical device. Can you speak to that from a nurse's perspective? Because as a nurse, there's medicines, and trust me, there are so many pharmaceuticals that are, oh my gosh, when somebody has a heart attack, being able to put an injection or an IV of epinephrine to bring that heart back to life, that is absolutely positively necessary. There's a place and a time for medicines, and there are other times where there are other devices, just like a respirator. A respirator isn't a medicine. That respirator, that saved your life. That was mechanically doing something to assist what your body, it was filling in the gap until your body was strong enough to then breathe on its own. This is a medical device. Can you speak to that aspect of it as a nurse and also as a patient who has used this?
Yes, and I actually didn't have to be ventilated, thank God, but I have been on oxygen for 7 years and I use it about once a day now. So I think I'm going to be able to get rid of that completely, hopefully after convention, once we get the 3 new reveals at convention. And as a nurse, what I see is this patch. I'm probably going to be able to show you one here. The patch itself, it just reflects your light like a mirror, which then triggers your body's GHK-Cu copper peptide to say, hey, I need to start making more of those cells that can help regenerate and rejuvenate me. And I have to tell you, I did have a lab a couple months back where we were keeping an eye on my liver function because I just have so much autoimmune. I'm a mess, but I'm getting better daily, weekly, as you mentioned earlier, and I'm so grateful. But you have to do your part too and eat organic, whole foods. Nutrition also plays a key role. The water, the Celtic sea salt, multi-minerals. But get this, my alkaline phosphatase, which is a liver test, was elevated. And I asked the doctor why, and he said, oh, that just means, remember you told me about those patches? It's actually showing that your bone marrow is pumping out those master cells that you talked about and we talked about at our last visit. I was like, what? My labs actually show this? It is so cool, Lillian. And so that's all this doing, because instead of throwing a pill or something else at it, which like you said, those have a place and a time, right?
Yeah.
It saved my life, but this is actually taking me the rest of the way of healing because they take care of the root of the health problem. Let's not just put a Band-Aid on it. Let's take care of the actual root cause. And that's why I'm getting better. Finally, I just couldn't break that ceiling of healing. I would take hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I would get better for a couple of days. We thought, yay. And then boom, I would go back again. So I have been able to talk on and off for a day or two for the 7 years, but really nothing to write home about. And it would just go backwards every time. So this is continually getting better. Be consistent, wear it every day. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We put on ours on our dogs and they're getting better too. It's so fun.
And so let's speak about the fact that this is something that affects your body systemically. So instead of, if you think about a general contractor, if you're looking to not have deferred maintenance and not have anything being wrong with your house, you can't bring just a plumber in every time and expect your plumber to fix everything in your house. No, your plumber is going to specialize just on plumbing, just like the electrician specializes in electricity, right? And the wiring of your house, just like your guy who does tile floors or your roofer just does roofing or does drywall or et cetera, et cetera. So the patches are systemic. What does that mean? That means it works on the systems of the body. So it's not an organ. This is not targeted to a particular function other than activating all of your master pluripotent cells, your original blueprint. So they work on all of the systems of the body simultaneously, because that's what those master smart cells did at conception. That's their function. That's all they do from the time you are conceived until you take your last breath. That's their job. So they're general contractors. They have the ability to take care of everything. So what does everything not cover? There's nothing it doesn't cover. From your hair to your eyes to your skin. Yeah. Look at Sylvia. Sylvia is, you said 57, right? Look at the radiance on her face. She doesn't have a wrinkle on her forehead. She doesn't have wrinkles. She's got beautiful, radiant, think about the hell this woman has been through. But in 7 months, you've had so much restoration that, heck, I would say you probably look like you're 45, 50. You do not look like a 57-year-old on this video or in person. And
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you're right, Lillian, is that the body knows exactly where to go to the most crucial need. So sometimes you can't feel, I always joke and say your liver quiver, but there's something going on inside, and just give it some time. Remember, even Dr. Harmon, it took him month 9 or 10 to realize he was not an AFib anymore. And just the amazing things that are happening. Give it time. It's so worth it. What else are you going to do? You want to keep aging? Why? We have the reverse aging capability. Let's do it.
This, these patches, I affectionately call these the Fantastic Five. In the first 2 months, I took all 11 patches and I realized, I'm like, oh, these 5 take care of the primary systems of the body. And you have this, everybody calls it like the weight loss patch, the SP6, but because it has to do with regulating your digestive system and appetites and cravings. But I realized it takes care of your digestive system, your reproductive system, and it regulates your autonomic nervous system.
Yes.
This is your neuro patch. So you take the Fan 5, those 5 patches, you add that patch, holy cow. You really have the holy grail of restoration, regeneration, and not anti-aging. It's reverse aging. Now, Sylvia and I can confidently say that without a shadow of a doubt. Why? Because we've measured it, because we've tested it. She's told you, she's got blood tests, she's got diagnostic self. But for so many of my patients and clients, I just had a gal who's a retired nurse who I'm going to be seeing in Dallas, Annie, and she was putting her labs of hers, and she had myocarditis. And as a direct result of being on the patches, she doesn't suffer with that any longer. And she's in her 30s. She's like mid 30s. And for the last 10 years, she's suffered with myocarditis since she was in her late 20s.
So painful.
Because of an injury in Australia. And now she free from all of that. Now she's able to live a full, vibrant life where even though she was in her late 20s and then early 30s and mid 30s, she was living the way a 70, 80, 90-year-old who is not healthy
you can't.
would be living. And she's totally vibrant and fine now. So the answer is, we know this because we've measured it. We do have BC cell blood counts with differential, without differentials. We also have like one of the blood tests that we have that I directly recommend people who don't want to go through their doctors or who don't have a doctor because they've decided to take a different route to managing their health and well-being. We can do up to 48 different biomarkers, and it'll tell us what your biological age is. So we can see chronologically, this is your age, but biologically, as in, for example, Dr. Stacy, who you know, Dr. Stacy, she just turned 50 years old, Patches, 3 years. Now, was she sick? Did she have pain? Was there anything wrong with her? No, she was fine. She's been detoxing, doing parasite cleanses. She's a double health and wellness. 3 years ago, her biggest pain point, and really her only pain point, was she was a little overweight. Guess what? Over the last 2.5 years that I see her, which is about 5 to 7 times a year, I kept on telling her, you're shrinking and you look younger and younger and younger.
It just looks more smooth.
And because when I first met her,
younger.
She, even though she was 40, she was 47, 40, going on 48 years of age, she looked like someone in her mid-50s. Very blonde, awesome tan always, right? Because she lives in Florida and she sunbathes. She does her vitamin D naturally instead of orally through supplements. And so when I first met her, she looked like she was in her mid-50s, even though she was in her late 40s. I don't know what her biological age was at that time. But I know that since then, the first 12 months of her being on the patches, her biological age after 12 months was barely 30 years old. And then she was like, I wonder if I can roll that to 25. Nobody knows the answer to that question. So I thought she was going to wait till the following August to do another blood test and see what her biological age was through her naturopath. But she didn't. She waited 6 months. So at 1.5, at the 18-month mark of wearing the patches, she did another blood test. That blood test has since shown every single time she's taken it that she's barely 25 years old.
Oh my gosh. That's what I look forward to.
And now she's 50 as of September 23rd, just last month. But what's interesting over this past year, and I told her husband, Brett, starting a year ago, February, I'm like, Brett, not only does Stacy look younger and she keeps getting fitter and she keeps on shrinking and her muscles are all like toned and tight because she works out and she's got all this incredible energy. I go, listen to her voice. She sounds younger too. She doesn't sound the way she used to. I go listen to her. You see her and talk to her every day. You probably don't notice. Listen to her video today on her YouTube channel. Go back and listen to her 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And he goes, you know what? I went back and did that. Yeah, she does sound younger. She sounds like a 25-year-old. She doesn't sound like someone who's north of 40, let alone
50 now. Yeah. Well, they also have that physio suite that David Schmidt talks about, that you can measure so many different aspects of your health getting better. It's just phenomenal. So
it is really, really phenomenal. So do you have any closing remarks or recommendations or advisements to any of our watchers, viewers here? We're going to wrap this up in about the next minute or two.
Yeah, I think just if David Schmidt had said no when God gave him this divine download for X39, where would we be? And what if Jan hadn't shared it with me? She didn't even know me. So guys, don't be shy. If you see somebody struggling, you know what? What if they do say no? Well, at least you tried, right? And what if they say yes? Then you can start living your life of significance, not just survival. And just to help as many as you can, be their cheerleader and just encourage them to keep the faith, fight the good fight, because month after month, you're going to notice like my symptoms of aging checklist. I'm checking off so many things on here. It's just been amazing. And that's a good idea to do that and or take a before and after picture, because when you're having a down day, because we all do, you can go back and look at your horrible scores on day one and compare them and go, wow, look at this. You know what? It just is your own little cheerleader right here on paper to keep the faith fight, the good fight. That's what I would say. Share the light, share the light. Let's do this.
Share the light, share the light. And there you have it, my friends and gems. Share the light. Like Bob Campbell says, he's one of the gentlemen that's been on the patches for a little over 3 years. And he says, this would be criminal
Yes.
to not tell by looking at someone if they have a life-threatening illness or not. You can't. It's impossible. You might think that they're totally fine.
Yeah.
I have this life-threatening illness. They've told me that I only have X amount. I'm like, they actually don't look that bad. And you're going, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, thank goodness you opened your mouth. You just don't know
Yes.
whose life. And this is a matter of life and death. You are a lifesaver. You are saving lives. And so it's a matter of saying, hey, what have you heard about the latest in this, phototherapy activation technology? Because this is
Yes.
a wearable light technology. You heard about these patches? They're a medical device that activate your original blueprint and it resets everything. It doesn't matter whether it's from a toxin, an illness, a syndrome, a malfunction, whatever's not right, it repairs it. And so
just like when you were younger,
we didn't have all these things. We were fine and we were energetic, and you'd get a cut and 2 days later that cut's gone. And a 70-year-old gets a
right?
cut. And a month later, it's still trying to finish up healing, right? Sometimes 2 months later, depending on the person.
Yeah.
So my friends and gems, get back to the person who shared this video with you. Feel free to reach out to Sylvia. Feel open and able to reach out to us here in the comments below. We're going to have this not only on YouTube, we're going to put this on Facebook. On Facebook, we'll share this together so that you can actually speak to her. She's a real human being. She's not a paid actress, just like I'm not a paid actress. Nobody is paying us to do this right here, right now. We're volunteering our time because we really are passionate about saving lives and about teaching, training, and educating people about this life-saving technology. So we won't take any more of your time.
Yes.
I want to say
we love you.
Love you. Ciao
so
for now, my friends and gems. We love you coast to coast, all around the world. And on a last note, this is available in 82 of 198 countries in the world. Kind of a lot. So there's a pretty good chance wherever you're watching this from that we'll be able to help you and ship this life-saving tech to you. Okay? Woohoo! Ciao for now, my friends and gems.